same week that I received the 60 books from my publisher, the first shipment, I also got laid off from a 17-year job due to the economy. So we had this extreme high and this extreme low, and they kind of balanced each other out. It was very nice. Anyway, this is historical fiction based on the life, or what is known of Samuel Bellamy, the pirate who, well, he wasn't a pirate while he lived here, but he came back to the Cape as a pirate in the Witta, the famous pirate ship that's been discovered by Barry Clifford off the coast of Wellfleet. I was going to say Fleetwood, but that's in New York. Okay. I've been talking about this book for so long. I never know what to say. I mean, I know what to say. I just never know what to read from it. And I thought I would read something to you all. It took 7 years to write, and that's only because it was a hole and corner operation while I was working full-time for the company that laid me off. And it's, I did a lot of research. I got a lot of help from the museum up in Provincetown. They were very generous with the information that they had. And one of the things that I got from them was a timeline that they had worked out based on all the research that they had done about Bellamy and where he was as in the 18 months that he worked as an active pirate. And so I was able to follow this along, life giving me a skeleton, so to speak, upon which to hang my story. So, I really enjoyed this. It went through a lot of incarnations. It started as a 49-page double-spaced manuscript that I, an artist and illustrator, intended to lavishly illustrate and produce for middle readers. And then the more I read about this story, the more I realized it's not a kid's story. It just is not. As a matter of fact, no pirate story is for children. These were adult criminals, so how do I do this for kids? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the pirates could not be caricatures. They couldn't be standardized. These were living, breathing, thinking human beings who had emotions, thoughts, and feelings much the same as we do. And the fact that this doesn't change over time is why Shakespeare works for us. It's why Bible stories work for us. People basically don't change. So once I decided that, the more words I added, the fewer and fewer pictures we got until there were no pictures at all. So I don't know what to read here. What do you all want to hear? No, let me just, first of all, people think this is just a pirate book. Now, the main character is a pirate, yes indeed. And he comes into everybody's life and he touches every single character in this book one way or another. But this is not all that's in this book. There's a lot of other stuff, relations between Sam and other people, and the girl in the story, Mariah Hallett, and all kinds of, she has a life you wouldn't believe, hardscrabble life on the outskirts of Cape Cod. So, I'll read a little bit. You guys tell me, what do you want to hear? Pirate stuff or girl stuff?
Girl stuff. Girl stuff.
Girl pirates.
No real pirates in this book, I am so sorry. So, okay, let me think. All right, some girl stuff. You would think I'd be prepared, right? Okay, all right. Mariah Hallett was, before Sam Bellamy came here in 1715, he went down south to Florida and had kind of a gold rush thing, and they failed at that and they decided to become pirates. She was pregnant when he left. Now, The reality of this, nobody really knows. This is where a little bit of fiction comes in, but traditionally she's pregnant when he leaves, and he doesn't know anything about it. And so the protagonist in her, or antagonist in her case, is a zealot minister who wishes he had been around during the Salem witch trials, which was only about 20 years before the story takes place. So here's just a little bit of what happens to her when John Knowles, who is a real person, I don't know anything about him, so I really hope he forgives me for this, finds her and brings her. She escapes from jail, they bring her back. So I'll just read a little bit of this. So there's a crowd outside Justice Doan's house. He also was a real person. Several voices shouted at once, "Innocent! How can she be innocent? She's a pirate's whore." Pirate's whore, or worse. Who's to say that dead baby ain't the devil's spawn? Someone screamed, and what had started as a shouting match turned into a brawl. Mr. Treat, he was the minister, also a real person, Samuel Treat, ran into the mob to join the few trying to stop the fight. "You must end this," he yelled as he helped pull two formerly friendly neighbors apart. "Fighting solves nothing." As he moved among them, the parishioners suddenly grew quiet. Then a voice called out, "Murderer! Murderer!" The crowd parted and Treat looked down the road. John Knowles appeared riding his slowly walking horse, sitting tall and straight like a victorious general returning from battle. In one gloved hand he held the end of the rope. At the other end was Maria, stumbling along, a rope tied to her iron shackles. "Oh, dear God," Treat whispered. Then he shouted, "No, no," and ran to her. Knowles continued to the front door of the Doan house and dismounted. He pulled the rope, hand over hand, bringing Maria closer to him. Mr. Treat had his arms around her, shielding her from the shouts and taunts. "Murderer! Whore! Where's his gold, witch? This is madness," Treat said when he and Knowles were face to face. "Look what you've done, man. You've divided our village and destroyed this child with your fanatical ideas. How can you say this is God's work?" With a self-satisfied look on his face, Knowles took off his gloves. "Take her inside," he said to the constable. Turning to the minister, he sighed, revealing more condescension than patience in his exaggerated tones. "Many times I've tried to explain this to you, but you've refused to see the truth. I am chosen by God to seek out Satan and cleanse our community of his evil imprint. My life's work is at last bearing fruit. Maria Hallett is the devil's handmaiden, and when she..." "You're the one who knows the devil, Josiah," another character shouted, leaping on Knowles from behind. "You leave her be, she ain't done nothing to you, you mad-brained rotter, you..." "Josiah, Josiah, no!" As Treat yelled, Will Brown, who had come from the tavern to see Maria, pushed his way through the watching crowd and pulled his friend off the angry Knowles. "Stop, stop, I say, this will not do." Treat yelled again as Josiah struggled in Will's big hands. Knowles picked up his hat and brushed it off. "You see the truth," he said, straightening his coat. "The witch girl does the devil's bidding and casts her spells, even in the face of God's holy work. You've not heard the last of this." With a steely glance at Josiah, he turned and went into the courtroom. So, the next Rising Tide writer is Stephanie Reed.